Okay, go.
All right, we are opening the meeting at 7:03. As a preliminary matter, this is Nicole Buckley, Chair of the Library Board of Trustees. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Amy Bartoloni.
Here.
Carol Bird.
Here.
Laura Howard.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Library Director Bernadette Rivard.
Here.
Good evening. This open meeting of the Bellingham Library Board of Trustees is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020 due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's orders suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure that public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Bellingham Library Board of Trustees is convening by telephone conference/video conference via Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that we have disabled video, audio, and screen sharing for the public. Only members and library staff will have access to video, audio, and screen sharing. The public will be able to view and hear meeting participants only. Meeting materials. All of the materials for this meeting, except any executive session materials, are linked on the library website unless noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. Each speaker on the agenda will be introduced. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps us generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in discussion with other members, please do so through the chair. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. I'm now going to turn the meeting over to our library director.
Good evening. This is our annual board reorganization meeting. The town election was held, when was that, yesterday or 2 days ago? Tuesday. We have our new board. Basically, we have the same members back. We still have one open seat. So the board members that are currently here are our board members. This is our chance to reorganize our board, who becomes the chair, who becomes the vice chair, and who becomes the secretary. So I need a motion from the members to appoint someone, to recommend someone for the position of chair.
So Laura Howard, I'd like to nominate Carol Bird to be the chair for the library trustees.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
Everyone will second.
Okay, so let's put Amy down as the second. All in favor?
Aye. Nicole Buckley, aye.
Laura Howard. Aye. There we go.
Laura and Amy. Okay. So all those in favor?
Fantastically nominate Laura Howard for secretary.
Okay. But I was going to vice chair next.
You have to go in order.
I think I was okay. So so I need a nomination for vice chair.
I'll nominate Amy Bartoloni for vice chair. This is Nicole Buckley.
I'll second Laura Howard.
All those in favor? Carol?
Carol, aye.
Amy?
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. And Nicole nominated Laura, yes. So all those in favor say aye. So so our vice chair. Our last position is secretary. Do I have a nomination for secretary?
You sure do. I nominate Laura Howard for secretary. Thank
And-
you.
And do I have a second?
I'll second Nicole Buckley.
And all those in favor, Carol,
Carol, I.
Laura.
It will be an honor to serve. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Laura.
Thank you.
Okay, so that completes our board. So we have Carol as the chair, Amy as the vice chair, and Laura as the secretary. So now I'll turn the meeting over to Carol, who is the new chair. So do you have the agenda in front of you, Carol? Or you want me to guide you through the agenda for tonight?
I do have an agenda. I thought I would make a motion to approve the May meeting notes.
Right. Yeah, that's accepted.
So I'm going to try to do this while taking notes.
Laura Howard, I'll second. I'm taking notes now, Carol, if you
Oh,
want to
you
just.
are?
Yeah,
I just, okay. Can I stop?
go for it.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it so much.
Okay. I can barely walk and chew gum, so
Yeah.
talking and
So
taking.
you made the motion, I approved. Do you want to see if everyone's in favor?
All in favor?
In favor, Nicole Buckley.
In favor, Amy.
Okay. Okay. So we're all set. So everyone has voted, right? Okay.
I
So
think.
yeah. So the next thing is me for the financial report. So first our income. We did have $56.69 in fine money deposited. That was a check we received from City of Mars for things that have happened. People that have paid things online while the pandemic has been going on. Normally that check every month is like $100 to $150. So obviously the fine money is down there too. We also deposited $2,555.68 from the Friends of the Library into the gift fund. They paid for the self-checkout station as well as the sanitizing station that we purchased for the disinfecting of the library. So those are the items we purchased out of the gift fund. We have 2 sets of bills that were processed since our last meeting, and I'm just going to go down and read the date and the line item and the amount. So on the 528 warrant, we had books and periodicals of $3,736.46. I'm just going to say those numbers are up because we started buying stuff knowing that we would be opening for curbside and we wanted to have new items available to people. Electricity and gas, $602.96. Building maintenance costs, $377.75. Office supplies, $527.25. Technical maintenance services, $149.90. And user fees, $157.50 for a total of $5,551.82. Today's batch on 6/11 was building maintenance and supplies, $55.34. Books and periodicals, $15.0141. Electricity and gas, $547.04. Equipment maintenance costs, $81.98. Janitorial supplies, $185.19. Technical maintenance services, $13.20. User fees, $164.83 for a total of $2,548.99. So that is a requirement that we read the financial report if you guys aren't available to sign the bills. And the bills are submitted to Nicole, the chair. So Carol, that is something you will take over. I'll be sending you a report of what we are processing each time, and you will just sign off. You'll just sign off and send me an email that they're good, and then we report back at the next meeting.
Okay.
And that actually is something that I think we could continue to do if you just do it this way instead of you guys individually signing. If the board, you guys have already voted to do it in the event of emergencies, which we obviously said this was an emergency, but it is something that can happen. And frankly, for us, it makes it really simple that we're not chasing down signatures. So I don't know if you guys want to consider just making that an accepted policy to do it all the time, and then we just report back each month what the bills are. I mean, I could be more specific if you want to know what the specific things are. You know, the list could include the actual list of invoices or whatever information you guys want to receive for the authorization could be done.
Laura Howard, I'd like to table that for right now. I'd
Okay.
like to know what other boards do. And if are you talking about outside of COVID? I mean, if that's our main duty to deal
Yeah,
with the dispersing of funds,
right.
I don't think that's something we
Okay,
should
and
find out.
that's fine. That's fine. That's perfectly appropriate. Let's see. I think we see what the town says is that if they say it's time to go back because the crisis is over. I think when we start meeting in public, when we start meeting in person again, is when then we can. That's probably a good time to delay it till, because then we can discuss, is it something that, because we could still send a very thorough report of these are the bills we paid, or these are the bills we are paying. Just send an email to say you're good with it, and then you physically don't have to come into the building to do it. You could just sign off on them and ask questions about them as they're listed. But we can. I agree with tabling is probably a good idea.
Do you think we'll be able to be in person in July?
Well, it depends. I really don't want to have any meetings in the building until we are somewhat open to the public, unless the town does something where we authorize town functions at town buildings. So
in the conference, I mean, in the community room is what I was
right,
thinking.
right, exactly. We definitely would be in there because we need more space to space people out. But I think it depends, and I had a brief discussion with Dennis about that, because also about the historical commission, because I'm on the commission now, and we have 2 members that have no technology, so they've been blocked out of this whole process while the rest of us have been doing things. So they really want to meet in person in July, and I think it really depends on what we can what the town's requirements are for. Our tentative plan, if all goes well, is to open the doors on July 6th, but there's a lot of things that have to happen to make that happen. I really would like the bathrooms done before we open the self-flushing toilets and the that sanitization stuff for the bathrooms. And the governor has released this list of items and it is library specific now for phase 2, which is what we're in phase 2, part 1. Phase 2, part 1, libraries can offer curbside. They can also allow people into a lobby just for checkout, into an area just for checkout. But we're not doing that. Phase 2 actually allows you to all the doors can open. Phase 2, part 2. I think for us, phase 2, part 2 is going to be opening to that smaller area. And we'll talk about that when we get to the phase reopening. But once we open to that smaller area, I think the building is open enough that we could talk about having small public meetings of under 10, with expectation of under 10 attendees could be held at the library. So, okay. So my report. So as far as book returns, I got unnecessarily excited last week because I got an email from MLS that I was not supposed to be in the group. It was for the larger libraries saying they were completing the site, and that it led me to believe last Friday they were going to come pick up the stuff that we had and drop off, and it wasn't us. But so what they've done again, they've done a second sweep of those big libraries, Worcester, Springfield, Lowell, Framingham, and they're cleaning up all of those items. What I would like to do, if I have time before they resume, and a couple of the area library directors talked about it, was us separating the stuff that we have for like Blackstone and Milford and whatever, and just driving to those libraries and swapping stuff. So we can get some of our stuff back, they can get some of their stuff back, and that will alleviate the burden on delivery when it resumes too, because there won't be as much stuff, having to go through the warehouse. So that was my goal next week, was to reach out to those libraries, see how much, if they have a lot of our stuff, it's worth me driving there just to swap stuff with them, because then we'll get some stuff back and we can start putting those things back. I'm hopeful, based on what they're saying, that delivery might start within, I'd say, 2 weeks. So before the end of June, I think we should see some kind of delivery. Now, it might just be once or twice a week. It might not be what it was, but they've got a lot to ramp up. Right now, they were surveying each library to find out, what hours are you there? Because some libraries still don't have staff back in the building. Some of them, so if you had a tiny, 800 square foot library, like what can you really do there? You can have one person, so there's some that haven't really, a lot of them are going back next week, even the smaller ones. So they're polling every library to find out where they are so they can know who, they're sending vans out. They want to make it productive that they're going to an area where there's enough people. I mean, everyone around us now, Blackstone, Milford, Medway, Franklin are all doing curbside. So everyone around us is doing it now. So those libraries obviously, and some of them are accepting returns, and just literally I've seen pictures like they have like trash bags full of books waiting for, and I just don't want to do that. Once they give us a date, if they say we're going to start delivery next Monday and it's a Wednesday, I think then we can start accepting returns, because we're going to quarantine them for 3 days anyway. So once they make an announcement, we'll let people know that they can start returning things. Our phase 1, so I realigned our numbers in the plan, because we had phase 1 library closed and I wanted to make our phases somewhat match the state phases. So I eliminated the close time as a phase, and I made
0 close.
it just got too confusing when you were talking about phases. So I made curbside phase 1, and then phase 2 for us will be grab and go. So they've committed into that small area of the library. We're going to move. My idea is from the front door to like a little beyond my office, or between my office, over to the reference desk, and then cut off the reference desk, and then down by where the books on CD and the music CDs are, and move all those tables and chairs out of that area and move bookcases or whatever into that area, so we can have high demand authors, more, move some DVDs into there, move stuff so people have some browsing things to see when we do grab and go. We will continue to do curbside even when we do grab and go, because there will be people that won't want to come in the building. I think that's still going to happen. And we're also going to, so curbside, I lost my train of thought. We'll do grab and go. I forgot what I was going to say. So let me just move on to the next thing. How many people can be in the building is going to be based on the square footage. So after we started working today, cleaning off like the board games and the things that we're not going to be circulating, all those library of things that have too many parts, we're not going to let people check out at this point. Getting all those bookcases cleared so we can actually move bookcases to see what the layout's going to be. After we have the layout, then we can call on the Board of Health to do the measuring, or building, it might be a building department, to say, okay, you've got X number of square feet, you can have X number of people in the building at a time.
8 people per 1,000 square feet.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I think we're probably going to be under a dozen people at a time, I think, based on my quick calculation.
Staff too.
What's that?
That's including staff.
Well, the staff will only be, the desk will only be 2 people at a time. And if we're going to measure that area, the staff in the back room, yeah. I think you have to measure the areas, because the staff
number in the town.
Yeah,
anyway.
they'll give us the number, and then I anticipate more than likely, I think we're going to have someone at the door for 2 reasons. One is handing out masks to people that don't have them. I bought a supply of masks with the Friends gift money, so I have 100 masks already. So if someone isn't wearing one, we offer them one. And later in the agenda, I have a discussion about what the process is if someone refuses or says they have a medical condition. So we'll get to that a little bit later, because I really want to have a policy so the staff knows exactly what to do when that happens. So I think, and that part of grab and go, so phase 2 is, I think phase 2 part 2, we can let people in the building. So that also letting some limited number of people in for computer reservations to do, I think we're going to try to advertise it as apply for jobs, unemployment, taxes, things that people, save those limited reservations for people that have business to do. I mean, it could be just check your email. If you have no other way to check your email and where your source and you haven't checked your email for 3 months, I think those are, and short sessions, maybe 45-minute sessions, renewable if you're in the middle of a job application, but I think if we limit it to 45 minutes and set up sessions every hour and a half, so we have time to clean the stations when they leave and let people back in. And I need guidance from the Board of Health on how to do that safely too. So that's going to be something I'm going to be checking with them on. Steve is actually looking into, anytime now, starting to do some children's programming on the Common. We sent the request over to them today. And basically where the parks are open, our opinion, and Dennis agreed, that it would be up to the people to maintain the social distancing. As long as he stays 6 feet away from them, if they set up a blanket on the town common and he's doing picnic stories or whatever. So he really wants to start doing some outdoor programming on nice days to get yeah. So right now I think it's with the town common trustees what the next steps are for that. But I think he would like to do it more than just the Wednesdays that he was doing picnic stories. If it's a nice weather day, schedule stuff and just cancel it if the weather's bad.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So the draft of the plan is in your hand. I've completed up to grab and go, but what I'd like to approve at this meeting, which has not been approved by the trustees but has been reviewed by the planning committee, the reopening committee, is the curbside service plan. Last time you voted on the temporary closure plan. This time it's the curbside service plan. So the curbside service plan has been reviewed by all the members of the our phase reopening committee. So I'd like a motion to approve the details of the curbside service plan, phase 1.
I'll make that motion.
That's Amy.
Amy.
Do you have a sec? Oh, Laura.
Second that if no one has.
You have to say out, Laura.
All in
Amy,
favor?
yeah, there you go.
Hi,
just
Nicola
aye.
Buckley.
Okay.
Laura Howard, aye.
Okay.
Okay.
That's our one of our things. So the staff are back at the library. The good news this week is I hope you guys saw the email about my budget miscalculations.
Yes.
So when I for those who didn't, so when I got the email from them that we had to cut $57,500, I assumed that was off of last year's budget, and it wasn't. It was off of our proposed budget for this year. So we got back $20-something thousand. So it is going to make managing the part-time budget next year a lot simpler for me. So it was a bank error in our favor. Is that what Monopoly calls it? So that's a good thing. So I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better about once we do start opening more hours, we probably can give the part-time staff start giving them back some hours. So that will be good. Right now their job, part-timers are answering the phones. That's what they're doing. They're there for a 3-hour shift, and they're either answering the phones 1.5 or 2 hours of the 3 hours they're there. They're covering books because we ordered so much stuff to refill all the shelves, and they're helping organize and get things done. The full-time staff is doing cataloging all those books. We're meeting a lot just to talk about what we're doing. It's just a lot of time spent just talking, so we know we're all on the same page. And Amanda did a ton of work to coordinate the curbside. She actually really did like all of the procedures, writing things down, which was a huge help that I didn't have to do that. So that was really great that her and Barbara discussed it. We all discussed it. Her and Barbara really put the plan together, and Amanda did all the writing up of all the procedures, so all the staff knew what to do. So, and it's been going really well. I would say we have an average of probably 30 to 40 book requests a day, which is that's probably a regular number of what we had when we were open to the public. The big difference is we're not sending things in and out yet. I think the numbers will pick up once all those other libraries, once we have access to everybody else's stuff. The curbside will get a little more robust.
Bernadette, I know that the seniors are ready to go back to their volunteer positions when it's safe. So I think you'll be able to pick up a lot of senior volunteers because their hours.
Right. Yeah. And I'm waiting for guidance on the town from that, but I think I want to wait till after Labor Day for those people to come back. I don't want to do that too soon. And I think Beth Smith, the HR, is kind of monitoring and deciding when that will happen. I know they want it because they want the hours, because they want the money. They want the money. Yeah. Because their end of their year is November 30th.
Okay. Oh, yikes.
Yeah. So they've only got a couple, and they haven't been there since. So they're sick. They'll be out for 6 months.
Maybe we should save some projects for August.
Yeah. Well, it could be, if we end up going back to, that when the library reopens, there will be, maybe it's just cleaning. Maybe there's someone running around with a bottle wiping tables after people stand, I don't know. We'll figure out what that is when we get there.
I think that, that's something to wait on. I don't know that that's really the population that we want doing that job.
Yeah, either. I know. And it's hard because a lot of them want to because they really need the money. It's a really hard situation.
That's the problem.
They need the money. It's a really hard situation. So, but I don't think that's not entirely up to us. I think the town will set the guidelines when they can come back, and I will work with Beth on what we should have them do. Absolutely. I will not just assign them things that
will the town provide some sort of stipulation of the scope of what work would be safe and healthy for
I will ask. I don't know if they would, but I will ask. And that is another thing I wanted to talk about when the public is back in the building. We have a decent number of people who are over 65. We have a couple people that are under 65 and immune compromised. So how much time they're exposed to the public is a whole different thing too. I've told some of them that if they get doctor's notes that says they shouldn't, we will find work for them to do that limits the amount of exposure they have to the public. But that requires, because it is a whole different thing. It is a different, when it's 7 staff members in the building at a time versus there'll be probably 20 people at a time, and it's a different 20 people every 15 minutes or so. There's a lot of people move, there'll be people moving through. So there are risks.
Have they expressed concerns, any of the staff?
A little bit, and the ones that I've talked to, I basically told them, that this it is your choice. And I think that we have to comply with ADA. So if their doctors gave us something that said they couldn't, then we have to take the step from there. No one has done anything yet, but I've thoroughly informed them of what they should do to make sure that if they reach that concern point to get the information to me, so we can do what we have to do.
Well, and I think our first concern, and I know you've expressed this to them, is that everyone's safety is first. Right. And while there are some things that need to be done, this overall is a short-term delay in how we would normally function. And if things are not fully back to normal in this period of waiting for things to return, that's how it is. And
I'm almost somewhat hopeful that once we start using the self-checkout, it might get more popular, and we can turn another machine around and have 2 self-checkouts and just have 1 person on the desk at a time. That's kind of my hope. But we'll have to see how people use it. We did have a discussion today. Someone said about sanitizing the self-checkout station, because some person goes over and they, then we have to figure out how that will work.
I love Walgreens little Q-tips.
That's the self-checkout machine we have. What they're going to have is they're going to have a barcode scanner. So they're going to put their library card onto the barcode scanner, and if it comes up correctly, they're just going to put their books on the barcode scanner too. So they really, in theory, shouldn't be touching anything. I don't think they have to. They might have to push something to print a receipt. I haven't finished setting it up yet, so we'll have to figure out how much touching is involved, and how. If it's just a mouse, we could just have a spray bottle where they spray the mouse when they leave. That's assuming someone doesn't come up right behind them that has to touch a wet mouse. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. There's so many unknowns. It's a really hard thing.
Well, please thank Amanda and Barb for their work on that.
Yeah, it was good. It was really helpful. Okay, so the thing I forgot until yesterday was that the contracts for the professional staff, myself, Cecily, Amanda, and Steve, expire on June 30th. I talked to Beth Smith. Since we've frozen salaries for next fiscal year and we're not doing anything with them, I recommended, and she agreed, that we should just extend the contracts 1 more year and worry about writing the full document out next year. We can't sign them yet because town meeting hasn't happened. Normally you guys sign them at the June meeting because town meeting was in May, but town meeting is not till the 22nd? Is that when so it'll be at the July, at some point. Well, if we don't have the July meeting in person, we might have to have you guys come in or mail the documents for you to sign to get their contracts.
So does that mean we need to do reviews?
Well, yeah, that is the year we normally, I do review of the other stuff. My review is normally done on my contract year. And obviously I would have thought about this if we hadn't had a pandemic. So if you guys want to do it before next spring, I'm fine with that. I think there's so much going on, it might be better to wait, but maybe it's something you start in December or something and get it done before the end of the fiscal year.
Right, we usually survey the staff.
Right, yeah. So the normal process is, we have the questions that we survey the staff, you guys put your opinion in, and then a document is written based on input from, and I usually outline my accomplishments. I do a report telling you what I think I did, which basically most of it comes from the annual report. Our annual report has our accomplishments. So based on I
can't remember if I was chair. I did the last one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can talk to you, Carol, about it.
Thank you.
Because the first one was, Ken Hamway did the first one, I think. We decided to only do them on my contract years every 3 years. So I think it would make sense to start it before next spring.
So just Bernadette, Steve, who else?
Cecily and Amanda. Right. So there'll just be an addendum saying we're extending your contract that expired on June 30th, 2020 to June 30th.
Is that something we have to vote on?
I think you probably should vote. Yeah, I think you probably should vote to extend, because you have to sign the contract, so you probably should vote to extend them.
Okay. Make a motion to extend the contracts for Bernadette, Steve, Cecily, and Amanda.
I'll second that.
In
All
favor.
in favor? I think that was a yes from Nicole, but she's on mute. But I could
I'm
read your
sorry,
lips.
my dog was barking in favor, Nicole.
You looked very positive about it though.
So in May, we had 3 programs on the Zoom platform. The mother-daughter, Diane did her mother-daughter book club. There were 8 people. I think Laura was one of them, correct? Yes. Cecily did her book discussion group, and she had 12 people, which is more than she often gets in person, so that was good. We held our first outside Zoom session with Jeff Belanger, 78 people, and they say the whole thing. That was a really good session. And it's I think it's going to be the future of library programming and it might not even just be, I could see getting more people to show up for a lecture in this format than getting out, leaving their house to go to a building and watch someone, do something. Yeah. So in July, we're having a joint program with the Historical Commission. Steve Joannis, who is on the commission, is presenting a thing of the history of the, so it was people that came from Nova Scotia to Bellingham and surrounding areas during the French and Indian War, because the French people thought they were like rogue Canadians or something. So he's actually doing a program on that. He did it at the Medfield Historical Society, and he's going to do it on Zoom. We're partnering with them because I'm on the commission and I'm the library director, but also because we can take registrations through the library program. We can help promote it and get people to come to that program. So that's the third Monday. It's July 20th. It's a Monday evening program. And Steve is doing a lot of stuff over the summer on the performers. Some of them are doing performers on Zoom. Some of them are doing live things. Some of them are submitting recorded programs that he's going to debut at a certain time, so everyone watches it together. And then, depending on what the permission is from the person who created it, leaving it up or taking it down. It might just be a one-time thing on our YouTube for live watching. But he's getting a lot of those things going on. Amanda, Diane, and Heidi are going to be doing some craft programs, like submit, these are the stuff you need. People come together, and we're going to make something together on Zoom. So they're doing a lot of work to try to get some good summer programming, the best we can do with what we have over the summer. I'm working right now on the press release for the Bellingham Bulletin, which is due on Monday, to outline what all those programs are. So there's a ton of stuff in July for kids and families. Our book is selling quite well. I got another order for another 40 they're coming in this week, and we're getting those out to people. Now we're gonna have people come to the library and do curbside pickup with them. And we did home delivery for the first group, but they're going pretty well. Mostly people are ordering online. There are some people that are sending us checks, and I think we'll keep doing it because we make $7 off each one if we sell it. If we pre-order, if people buy it off Amazon, we only make $2. So we're gonna try to have it. And I think once we do open the doors, having some on hand to sell to people that just show up would be great too. Okay, so budget for this year, so for FY20, so the sheet that I gave you, I have to take my glasses off to be able to see this. I'll give you a second. So right now I'm projecting that we're going to give $3,500 back to the town. Technically, that is already $13,000 because the town, when they looked at our budget, our electricity, basically with the solar, is not using anywhere near as much as it used to. So Mary asked if they could take $10,000 off the top. They took $10,000 at $108 earlier this month. You'll see that under the transfer supplement line. There's a 10,000. So technically, we already given back. My estimate right now is 14,000. The things that are on this sheet in yellow, I'll let you the big numbers. I want to let you know what they are. So there's $5,000 under building maintenance contracts. That is for the HVAC repair that was done. We started with a new company called E&E Systems. Honeywell, once John retired, we were having a hard time getting good service from them. So I called Roger Oakley at the schools, and Roger recommended that we use this other company that the schools had moved to. So we hired them. We're in the process of getting quotes from them and a couple other companies. The quote they gave us for the annual contract was a lot more than Honeywell's. So I want to get quotes from a couple other companies before we sign a contract. But that $5,000 there is to cover the work they did for us this spring, because I haven't received the bill yet, and it's just an estimate. And the $8,200 there is the cost of the toilet and the sink renovations for auto flush and auto hand opening. So,
company that's doing that, or
excuse me?
do we have a company that's doing
Yeah,
it?
Steve Brown, who is the town's contracted plumber, is doing it for her. So he's already.
Yet, though?
What's that?
Doesn't have a timeline yet.
No, I just approved it last week. He had to buy the supplies. So I'll have Jim check in with him in a week or so to see if what he said, it was good thing we moved quickly because he thinks those supplies are going to get harder to find as more and more people start to do it's like everything else, you couldn't get a hand sanitizer, you couldn't get masks, you couldn't get things. So, so hopefully that'll be done. And I don't know, I think we have a decision to make if it's a long time before that can happen. Do we open the doors without those in the bathrooms or not is a really big decision. Now, where it's risk grab and go, people shouldn't be hanging around a long time. So there are some talk on the library boards about, does your bathroom need to be open? And I think you'd have to have it open if someone said they had an emergency. So we'd have to, deal with that. But let's table that until we know whether or not we'll have it done in early.
Was he waiting for the stuff, or we're just waiting for his schedule?
No, the supplies, I think. He had to order the stuff. It was only a week or so ago we got the approval, because I had to get the town, I wanted to get them on board to pay for it out of this budget, because we told them we were going to give them back like 20 something $1,000. And they said, if you have it in your budget, just do it. So they're okay with us giving back less. There is a possibility that they could get reimbursed from this under the Federal CARES Act, the COVID Act. So they might get the money back. That's what they're hoping, that anything that is an improvement that is for safety for COVID might be reimbursable with the federal funds or state funds.
If they get the money back, do we get the money back, or do they
No, they get the money back. Because we'd have been giving it back to them anyway, technically, because we weren't, the budget was technically frozen, so we were supposed to try to give back as much as we could. So, and then the other things are just small bills that are there that things we've received, but we haven't got invoice for. All the other things that are in yellow that are small funds there. So I'm hoping we'll give them back, $3,000 to $4,000. And that's it.
How is the HVAC working? Because I always worry about
well, so they turned on the air conditioning, and we've been having trouble that it's been going off, but there's a button that you have to push to, if it goes off, to turn it back on. And the button is back it's in like the mechanical room, and it's behind like a boiler. So you have to use like a broomstick to like reach the button to turn it back on. So it like some days it goes off once, some days it goes off twice. So
you should get one of those like big. I was looking to see if I had one, like a big pointer.
Yeah. It's just we're using like a broomstick. That finger thing is nice. That's great. So yeah,
for that. Do we have a quote for the whole thing?
We don't have the quote to replace. It was on year 3 and I don't, with all the budgets being up in the air, I don't know what one good thing is we got one part of the bathroom done already. That's one thing that was on the long term. Now, not that I don't want to retile and repaint the bathrooms and all that other stuff, but these auto flushing things, obviously $8,000 is a big chunk of change. And I think
that HVAC is going to be an emergency someday.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is. That's a concern. And then the town has to figure out how to pay for it, because it's not
Is it something that we would be able to cover with our state aid? No.
It's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think, for the replacement.
Okay.
It's got to be a town meeting thing. And so we're looking to get a good company that can help us. And they also said there are companies that will come out and do the evaluations, and that's what we need. We need an independent evaluator, not somebody who's going to make the money off of doing the project. Someone to come in and say, an engineer, a heating engineer, to come in and figure it out. And the town has so many other things going on. Coordinating that isn't going to happen anytime soon.
I know that the timing isn't right, but I mean, it's not right until it's right.
Right. I think if we keep having bills for repair that get if the bills for repair get beyond what our budget is, then the town has to make a decision.
Well, I think we discussed it being an issue that we were being billed to train.
Right. Yes.
Repairman.
Right. Yeah. And I went through that with them. They sent me a timeline. The guy had to drive here, and basically we paid that bill and then canceled the contract is what we did. And that was at the recommendation of Roger. I talked to Roger about how to handle it, and he's like, they've documented it. Our opinion, Jim's opinion was the guy didn't really understand our system. Although when the E&E guys came in and they knew what they were doing, but their quote for, what's that?
The dinosaur.
Yeah.
I think with the scarcity of parts, which we were aware of, and now with the new repair system or, contract or whatever, I think it's just making it more immediate of a concern.
I agree. I mean, I think we can talk about, I don't think it can be on this fall town meeting warrant. I think the earliest probably could be next fall. I think we have to have the evaluation done.
I think after the override has passed, asking for any more money, maybe maybe like a final blow.
Right. If we had an emergency and we had to get something new, how long would all of that take?
Well, we have to hope that if it fails, that it fails in the fall or the spring when we don't need heat or air conditioning. That's really what it comes down to. Because if it fails in the summer or the winter, the summer, I think there's a maximum and a minimum temperature that your building can be to have people work in it. And if it goes above or below that, you have to close.
The shutdown for.
Oh, remember last summer for that 300th anniversary?
Oh yeah. Well, right. They came in, they fixed it in one. Luckily, that fixed it, and after in 3 hours, he had that fixed. So
it'd be good to know how long it takes, like from start to finish. Like if you get to order the new system, like to get that all ordered and installed.
I don't know, but my feeling is if when we do replacement, the replacement should be done in the spring or the fall when we're not going to need, when we're less likely to need heat. Like do it in April or October, when we're not likely to.
I just meant if there was an emergency.
Is it a month long, 2 month long process?
I have no idea. I really don't know, and that's something we should find out. I'll try to talk to Roger more seriously. He's obviously dealing with all the maintenance stuff for the schools, which is they've got to have their hands full with what do we do? What do we do in September to get a building ready for whatever the guidelines end up being? So basically, it looks like we're going to be giving them back, but $3,000 to $5,000 depending on what these other things cost. So overall, it's like our book money. A lot of it's in book money right now. We're 70. So we have 10,000 in book money, and we're going to spend. So it's probably going to be about 8,000. 8,000 of that money is money from the book that we didn't have to spend because the state suspended the requirement of meeting the book requirements. So a lot of that money is that we would have spent on materials is going back to the town. So it's manageable. It's good. We're getting some things done that we need to have done. But I agree that the HVAC is a concern, and we ought to talk about it. Later this summer and before.
It has been noted in the minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. The second thing I have is the 2021 budget. So this is what I submitted to the town, and literally so once I got that email from Mary that we had money put back in, I just reallocated. What I did is she gave me the bottom line number that I had, $569,009.38. That was what our budget was. So from that, I calculated what we had to spend on the books, which was the $85,500, and then I just put the rest back into fund. The part-time was $17,950, and Carol's line for the library assistant is $6,400 based on what we spent on Carol this year. So I just moved the rest of the money back into those part-time lines that we had zeroed out. So it gives us, this year we had $33,000 in the part-time line. Next year we only have $17,000, but we have $25,000 in state aid. So we're going to get another probably at least 10 to 15. So we'll have enough money to pay those part-time positions next year. So that was a huge relief that went out that way. So this is the budget that will be presented at town meeting on the 22nd for approval.
I never thought of this, but if the schools do go to a split model, that might affect us too.
Yep, absolutely, yep. I mean, have they had any discussion of what those hours would be?
Oh yeah, they're not going to know until Laura, right? June or July.
They're still waiting. I mean, it's
education too,
yeah.
Right?
I mean, I assume they'd probably go like 7 to noon and noon to 5, probably. Is that what they would do?
I don't know that it would be a possibility to do split days to have time to clean in between. I think from what I heard and what I know days. Connecticut is doing, it would be Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday sort of deal.
Okay.
But I mean, that's one of multiple possibilities.
Okay, yeah.
But then on those off days, like there's still going to be a limit on how many
people can be in that room, right?
Anyway.
So it
right now they're saying 10 kids per classroom,
right?
With 2 teachers, so
12 people.
Total of 12 per classroom.
So, I mean, if we look at the community room, it's probably the size of a classroom,
Yeah. I mean, talking to friends and family who teach in other districts too, regardless of your budget, I don't know that there's a school system who can match all of those.
Yeah.
How are we going to have the after school
I don't know that we can.
I think we're gonna have to wait and see what happens.
Right. I don't think, yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, but we could do it by registration or by lottery. Sometimes some libraries do programs by lottery because they only have so many spaces. So like, or assign kids. You can, some kids, these kids are Monday kids, these kids are Wednesday, and then, so there's 10 kids every day.
People are going to send their kids anyway.
Well, what we would have to do is change our policy as to what age kids could be at the library unattended. Yeah. That's what we'll have to do. We'll have to change.
Though, didn't we?
Yeah, but fourth and fifth graders can be there in the program, but we might want to go higher. We probably have to go up to eighth. I don't know, up to we wouldn't want seventh graders hanging around the building. I mean, the teen room is probably gonna have a smaller capacity also.
Something to revisit in the summer.
Yeah, I think so many of these discussions, it's all speculation until we get
August or.
Right. I mean, I think it might require, because I know what some libraries are doing right now is no children under 16 are permitted without an adult. That's what they're doing because they don't have the space. That's what they're going to. So after school, you want to bring your kid after school, you can bring your kid after school. But 16-year-olds are what? They're juniors or sophomores at least.
My son Sam's 16. He's going to be a junior.
Junior, yeah, right. So yeah. So they could be sophomores or juniors. Then they could be, they could be, some of them could be in the adult area studying, some of them could be in the teen room. You could kind of spread them throughout the building. But we're still going to have, I think for a long time, even when we open the building, we're still going to have probably some occupancy limits. And then you have lines of people waiting outside the door to get in, and that's, so I think the message to parents is going to have to be very clear. And it might be better just to put a pause on it until we can do it right.
I think you have to say, we just don't know. If people are asking, then we won't know.
But even and even if we don't know in August, we just say we're not resuming the program until we do.
Yeah.
I think so. That's, we talk about, and your kid can't be here because no one can hang around. And I think the longer, maybe we keep grab and go longer. We keep grab and go through September until we know what the school plan is. So the building is open for, we could still do small meetings of whatever the number is under, 10, 12 people that could book the community room. I had a guy today that sent me an email saying, I want to book the community room for September for a real estate seminar. And I was like, I can't do that yet. I'm not booking anything. I'm not booking and having to cancel things. It's just not worth the effort.
I just have a quick question, just on the same line, since we're going to have grab and go and reservations. Has the shutdown impeded our ability to get any of the books off the school reading list? I know we had them a little earlier this year.
So we actually ordered, most of them are here. There was one book that I forget which grade it was, that I think it was the sixth grade book. That's bad. All I remember, it has a yellow cover, which is such a bad librarian thing to say.
Sixth grade is the Watsons Go to Birmingham, I think.
Okay, so I think it was, anyway, it's a hardcover. So there were two books that they were considering. Steve was asking them to go to the other one because it's in paperback and we could buy used copies for $2 and get a whole bunch of them. And they opted for the other one. But that's only in hardcover. So how many we'll be able to buy will be limited because we can't invest in 60 books at $20 a piece. And until delivery resumes through the libraries, we won't have access to those other libraries' titles. So I think there's one title that we might have trouble with. But Amanda has bought a whole bunch of one for the high school ones. I think the elementary is just doing like authors, and we'll have those out. The same thing. We'll have a display of those. So once we do the grab and go, any of those books that we have will be on display for people to grab. They're processing some of them now. Some of them just came in, and people are placing holds on them and picking them up. So we'll definitely have what we can. And what I told Steve is, we buy 8 of this one that's hard to get, that is expensive, and monitor the holds list. If we have 5 holds, buy another one. So we can. I don't want to buy them and have them sit there and parents buy them in the meantime and they're not being used. But if we can monitor the holds list and say, okay, we got 5 people waiting, let's buy another one, so we can kind of keep turning them over. Over the course of the summer. So we'll see how that goes. So we are going to, with this budget, we are going to have to file for a waiver again. There'll probably be 80% of the libraries in the state will be, it might even be higher. I bet this is going to be higher than it was in 2009 when everyone had to, I think in 2009, there were 348 public libraries. I think 121 had to get a waiver. in 2009. I bet it's going to be over 200 this year. Everybody's having, I mean, there are libraries that have furloughed their staff. There are libraries that have laid people off. There's a lot of, they're not coming back slower because they've laid off all their part-time staff. They've laid off, some of them have laid off all their staff except for the director, or they furloughed all their staff except for the director. So we're in a better place that we have at least some of the staff, the part-time are maintaining some of their hours, and I think I will be able to resume, probably not to the level of before, but if they were getting 18 hours before, we might be able to get them to 14 or 15, which will be, which will be good. As I mentioned in the beginning, we do have an open seat on the Board of Trustees. The person who ran and was elected is declined to be sworn in because she's moving out of town. So there will be applications accepted, and the new person will be appointed by a decision of the library trustees and the Board of Selectmen once applications are received. I don't think they put a deadline on applications. I think they once receive an application, they can move on it. So we'll see where that goes to fill the empty fifth seat. And the last thing I have concerns about is the mask policy. So when we do reopen to the public, I'm very much hoping the town comes up with a town-wide policy and procedure on what you do when someone comes into the building without a mask. We're going to have them, like I said, we have some available, the Friends have purchased to offer them to people. But if they refuse, whether it's for personal reasons or medical reasons, what actions do we have to take? And I don't know the answer to that. So that's what I want to find out. Can we ask them to step outside and we can talk to you? A staff member will meet you outside and we will talk to you and try to help you fulfill whatever need you have. And then if they are, that's one thing. If someone is amenable, you do that. But what if they just say, I'm not leaving, and they refuse, what is the next step? And I want to have that clear so staff knows what action to take if and when that happens. I know when the town was doing when Bellingham had the ordinance about masks and the state didn't have it yet for however many days that was, it was like 3 or 4 days, I think. There was a discussion about on the town department head meeting about what the store, because the stores could ask someone to leave. And what they said is asking them to leave if they refuse, it isn't not wearing the mask that is a violation. They have trespassing because you've asked them to leave and they've chosen not to. So the violation is trespassing, not wearing a mask. But I don't want to, I don't want to make things as contentious. The goal isn't to be contentious. The goal isn't to have things be hard. But I want staff to know what to do when that happens, because I'm not going to be in the building every moment we're open.
Yeah, I would be interested to know the experience of local business owners and if they're even running into that issue.
Right. Yeah.
Because there is that big issue of mental health, and there's reasons why some people can't.
Right.
And I actually don't know that it's a hardcore law in Massachusetts that you have to.
Right. Exactly.
So,
yeah. But I think like Bellingham's ordinance was businesses had to put up a sign saying masks were required. But I don't know what, so I don't know. I need the Board of Health and
I think the Board of Health would have a lot to say whether it is a public safety issue. And from there you could go to what the steps would be to.
Before we open, I definitely want this, before we open I want this mask policy at least. So I'm wondering if if I can draft something, because we're not meeting again until July, what's the date in July? It's not before July 6th. So maybe it'd be better that we wait to reopen until after our next trustee meeting. Because there is no it's the 9th. July 9th is the trustee meeting. So wait till the following week to, then we have a chance to, because even if we had the first draft of the policy read, we could, or we have a special meeting between now and then just to if I get a policy drafted, have a special meeting to do a first reading, and then on that 9th we could adopt it if we had to. Let me see what the Board of Health says, and if the town comes up with a town-wide buildings mask policy, that would be optimal, because whatever the town hall does and the
Will we have to have 2 readings of the policy though before it
I think we can do it as a guideline. For it to be policy, it has to be read twice. So we could have a special meeting on Zoom just to read the policy for a first reading, as long as we announce it that's a meeting, Okay. But if the town adopts a town-wide guidance or policy, then we probably don't have to do it. So I'll get in touch with Dennis to see what they're thinking about doing it. I mean, it's probably, no one probably gets more people in the building besides, I mean, yeah, DPW and town hall get visitors, but they don't get visitors like we do. You know, there aren't just dozens of people walking in every, you know, so I just want the staff to be all on the same page with what to do if it happens. And you know, if, say someone comes in without a mask and then the computer's open, they sit down and start coughing all over the computer. You know what I mean? What do you do when someone, you know, you're kind of and we have people that do that all the time anyway. That's just not, the masks are a wonderful thing because the masks are a wonderful thing because it's going to get rid of some, I mean, so there are people that just, it's, you know, they have a horrible cold and they're sitting at a computer for 3 hours, and, you know, we've never done anything about that in the past, but is this our opportunity to have a policy of, you know, to like, look. So anyway, I want that thing. So I will work on finding out if the town plans on doing one. If they don't, I will work on drafting something that I'll run by the Board of Health before I bring it back to you guys. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have, I think that's all that I have.
I have something on Facebook today. A woman asked me to talk about the possibilities of starting a fund to replace our 3D printer. Now that's been gone for, I know, about at least 3-5 years.
We got it in 2012, and I think it lasted 4 years. So it's been 3 to 4 years, at least 4 years it's been gone.
Okay, so yeah. So within that way, it's been gone for quite a while. I know it broke quite often. It was expensive, and the usage wasn't very high.
The usage did plummeted. Medway does have a 3D printer, Medway Library. So when anyone asks us about 3D printing, I send them to it. Now Medway, it probably isn't letting people use it now, obviously, but the Medway Library does. They have a whole makerspace. They have like recording studio. They have a whole bunch of things that we don't have. So for all that kind of thing.
Okay.
So
she had, I just want to make sure I do fairly by her.
Yeah.
She had asked about starting a fund.
Yeah. My concern with that is someone to monitor and run it, because you need a staff member that's Pat. I was the passionate person about it. At this point, I don't have the passion for it. I don't have the time. I won't have the energy to put into it, really. Unless there's some overall plan for someone to, I mean, there are libraries that have like volunteers that run their makerspaces or run those things. I guess maybe we should invite her to a meeting.
I did actually
okay.
invite her to pop in tonight or.
Yeah. Well, and if she wants to call me, tell her to call me and talk. I can talk to her.
Okay.
If you want to just invite her to get, you can give her my direct line, but just not on Facebook.
Yeah. No.
I'll be happy to talk to her about what is she thinking, because it's not that I'm against having all those. But right now people can't touch things either. So is this, it might take a year to get the fundraising to do it properly anyway. There's some really cool ones out there that are super expensive that are easier to run. Ours was a $1,300 machine that the filament was expensive, and it
was part of our grant when we were bringing science into
Right. Yeah. When we got the seismograph, we got that. It was a seismograph and the 3D printer. We're all part of the same grant. I'm not against. I've often thought that could be cool to have something back in the cafe area where a 3D printer was running and people could be printing a job. I just don't have the energy to dedicate to it right now, and I don't know that there's anyone on the staff who would. Not that I can ask, I can check. But it's a matter of having someone that would run it, because it's time intensive to work with it. We need someone dedicated to, if someone has who could be on call to help the person that wants to print something if something goes wrong.
I don't recall that really coming up when we did those surveys. People rated things they wanted, and
that's true. In our long range plan, what the makers, the things people were looking for us to have, that's something I can go back to when I'm talking to her. We surveyed the community, and this didn't come up as a priority item at the point we did the survey, because there was definitely a call for more like STEM stuff for kids, though, if I remember correctly, in the survey. STEM programming, which that would somewhat come under. So, I mean, I think if it was a children's room thing, it could be a big hit. but I know Steve does not have time to run it either, you know, so how do we get someone to run the program? It would be the harder part. So feel free to give her my number and have her give me a call and we can talk about it.
I just wanted to have something to address with her and let her know that I brought it up.
Yeah, I do want to, I was thinking about the curbside. There was something else that I wanted to talk, not curbside, the grab and go. And there was something, let me just go through these. Oh, hours. So when we start the grab and go, what we're thinking of doing for hours is, so right now we're doing curbside 12 to 3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and noon to 6:30 Mondays and Thursdays. So there's some after hours. If people do work, they can still pick things up. What we're thinking of doing for curbside is going 10 to 3 on those days, on the 3 days that we're in the morning. So keep the 12 to 6:30 on the Mondays and Thursdays, and then go from 10 to 3 for the hours the building is open for people to come in and grab things. And then we're possibly thinking of doing Friday morning opening at 9 to do elderly and vulnerable population 1 hour for, because that's in the guidance they recommend you have a time for elderly and immune compromised vulnerable populations is what they're calling it. So on Fridays morning would open at 9 and do 9 to 3 on Fridays. So that's what we're looking at for the public hours. And that would go, I think, until probably until Labor Day. From what I know, I have to do the math backwards, but 37 weeks of the year, we have to be open the 50 hours to meet our state requirements. Now, right now, when under the state of emergency, none of this counts. But if the state does open up 37 weeks, I did it sometime in September. So sometime in September, we're going to have to resume our 50 hours that were open to the public. Even if it is just grab and go, the doors have to be open for us to meet the state aid requirements. So I'll calculate the date that is, so we know exactly what day we have to, when we have to open to the public. And my tentative plan for those 50 hours is to close one evening at 6. I'll close at 8, probably either Tuesday or Wednesday, and close at 3 o'clock on Saturdays. Instead of being open till 5 on Saturdays, just be open 10 to 3 on Saturdays. Because basically what happens on Saturdays, they say the afternoons are generally slow, and then from 4 to 5, everyone comes in to pick up the stuff at the last minute because the library's closing. So probably I'll make it that it'll be busy from 2 to 3 instead of from 4 to 5. So that's what I'm thinking of doing for hours, and having just one night that we close at 6, either Tuesday or Wednesday. So it'll be 10 to 8, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then 10 to 6 on the other day, and 10 to 3 on Saturdays.
One last thing.
Yes.
Town meeting.
Yeah.
If we get any questions, we should be there.
I want to go, but I want to know what their plan is for keeping people.
They don't know yet.
I know. Yeah, I want to know.
Oh, so it is in person?
Yeah, I saw. I from what they said the auditorium, which I don't know how they're gonna get.
Spreading it out, but they're looking at it right now.
Because they're probably gonna have a big turnout with the override question. So
I would think so.
I mean,
some places did it outside, but that's problematic too because you don't know what the weather's going to be like ahead of time.
Right. Yeah.
If it rains, your hair could fluff.
And can they do the clicker voting outdoors? Isn't that reliant?
Yeah.
They can?
No, I said that's a good question.
Good question. Yeah. Is that? Yeah. I don't know if it relies on Wi-Fi or something for it to work. I don't know. So I'm really concerned about like sitting in a mask for 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's a long time and how are they going to keep people away from, I don't know, I have some concerns.
When will we know what the story is?
I mean, it's the 22nd, so they got 11 days.
Yeah,
they got a
couple weeks.
Yeah, they got to figure. That's a little.
I like the Zoom meetings. Let's just Zoom it because.
Yeah. Well, so we actually did just today for reference. We did our Mass Library Association annual meeting today, and there's a polling feature in Zoom that you can actually have people vote.
But you can't check that they're registered Bellingham voters.
Right. You'd have to check people in so you'd have to start the meeting like 2 hours in advance to check every. That's right. That's
and not everyone has technology and that
right. And it would disenfranchise.
I mean, it's something to think about and talk about.
It would disenfranchise some people down the road. Definitely would.
It would be much safer.
It would. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is.
Part.
I mean, I voted by mail.
The drive-in.
I voted by mail for this election.
Yes, you did.
I went because Molly, was Molly's first time voting, so.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to say congratulations to Molly. I watched a portion of the awards night. Good
Thank
for
you.
her.
She's so excited.
Yeah. So, okay, so so the hours, I want to review what our plan for the hours was. So in the plan, if you want to look at the beginning of phase, the grab and go is there, and that will be the next thing we'll approve. So you guys want to start looking at that and give any feedback you have on the grab and go, so we can get it. We probably will, Amy and Nicole, we probably will have another reopening committee meeting sometime soon to talk about, once I get the layout done, we'll probably, and it might be, depending on how it works, good for you guys to come in and see the layout of the grab and go once we get it set up.
I was going to say maybe draw a little map, but I can certainly come in.
Yeah, I figured, yeah. I mean, it would just be a quick visit so we could show you what the plan is, and because it would be good to get feedback from you guys as patrons, as a patron view as to what we're doing. Right, exactly. Okay. So that's all I have.
So you don't need a motion for that, or we're not done with it yet?
No, we're not done with it. It's the next phase. And I think if we keep one step ahead of the phases as we go through, it's just a lot to write and a lot to get down, and looking at other libraries' plans and making sure everything is there. I sent out a document, I think I sent it to all you guys, that the governor had 2 links in it. It's a checklist of things you should do in phase 2. So we're going through that to make sure that we're doing all the things. There were a couple minor things. There should be a log that Jim is completing about the cleaning procedures. So all of those things, I'll get those all written down as far as what the things we should be doing as guidance for phase 2. We're doing 90% of them.
Contact tracing or temperatures or anything in
the town is not doing that. That's a town decision. We're not doing that. I basically informed staff that I'd appreciate it if they took their temperature before they left the house in the morning, and obviously don't come to work if you're sick. Right now we are doing anyone who comes in the building that is not staff is logging in, so we know dates and times people were there. So if something does happen, we know who was in the building when. My plan is to shred those sheets after 14 days, because when it's up, it's up. There is a huge discussion on the library boards about, and I think the guidance is going to go away. They're talking about like businesses asking people to sign in when they come in for contact tracing. You know,
I feel like restaurants aren't they?
I think they are. And there's a huge discussion on the library, because there's state laws about library privacy. What you do in libraries is private. And so they really think that when the guidance comes out, libraries won't have to do it. They're fighting for that to be the case, because my idea for somewhat privacy would ask people to just write down their library card number, because then we'd know who they were, but there wouldn't be a list of names that and who's going to manage that? I don't know. So they're working to make it not a requirement.
6 feet, within 6 feet of each other for 15 minutes.
Right, exactly.
But if you're just walking around the library,
right.
I mean.
Right. We're not having one-on-one meetings with anybody. We are working on, just so you guys know, on a way for Cecily to be able to take over someone's screen when they're on a computer, so she can help them without having to sit next to them, which is 90% of what she does. I did get, actually, there was some woman in Franklin that was making face shields. So I bought some as a donation. They're very thin plastic in there. So, but I bought them so if the staff want to wear a shield when the building opens, they can.
I feel like they're more breathable. Are they?
You're still supposed to wear a mask under them, because the stuff can come in on the side. So it's just it's great for people that don't wear glasses, because glasses is one, it protects your eyes. If you're someone that don't wear glasses, your eyes, if you're just wearing a mask, are vulnerable. And any kind of moist surface like your eyes, your nose, that's where it can get in. So people that don't wear glasses, it's another layer. But I'll get the guidance from the Board of Health. They actually were at the Board of Health today, went to the senior center. They're starting van medical appointments again next week. So they walked through there to give them all the stuff that they needed to know. So they're starting up to driving the seniors to medical appointments next week. So they're dealing with each department as necessary. Bruce did come to the library and looked at our spacing for the staff. So he did an inspection to where we had put all the staff chairs and walked around. And I talked a little to him about the grab and go, but I think I'm gonna make the area a little bigger than what we talked about with him. So we'll definitely have him back before we do it. And they're gonna have to measure the square footage and give us the number. So the number of people that can be in the building at once. And we did already draw lines outside 6 feet apart all the way down the walkway that goes in front of the community room. So those are marked off because I don't think we actually had more than one person pick up for curbside, but if someone was there, just to tell them they needed to wait till the person in front of them went away. We put out the tax forms this week so people can pick up tax forms. Because there's been some phone calls about that.
Yeah.
So that's all we have.
Okay. I will call the meeting to a close at 8:13 p.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Congratulations, Carol.
Oh, thanks. You too.
Nice job.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
Good.